Снял? Офигеть!
A massive fire at an oil depot near the Black Sea resort of Sochi has been blamed by Russia on a Ukrainian drone attack.
Ukrainian drone attack sparked major fires at an oil depot near Russia's Black Sea resort of Sochi.
I want to express my gratitude for our special long-range operations on Russian territory. Their impact is significant.
Russia, I think it's disgusting what they're doing. I think it's disgusting. This is Biden's war, it's not my war. But I said if I get in, I'll try and get the thing stopped.
On August 3rd, the war once again crossed into Russia's own backyard. In the early hours of the morning, a swarm of Ukrainian drones descended on Sochi, a city better known for its beaches and past Olympics than battlefield smoke. But this time, the skies were filled not with tourists, but with the buzz of incoming UAVs. At least 2 oil storage tanks at a fuel depot caught fire after the strike. Flames ripped through the facility, threatening to spiral into a full-scale disaster. But local Russian authorities say the blaze was eventually brought under control, thanks to the efforts of over 120 firefighters deployed to the scene. Krasnodar Region Governor Veniamin Kondratyev confirmed the fire and emergency response, while Russia's Defense Ministry issued a broader claim that its air defenses had destroyed 93 Ukrainian drones overnight. 60 of those were reportedly intercepted over the Black Sea and 1 over Krasnodar itself. But as usual, there was a catch. Moscow never says how many drones were actually launched, just how many they managed to shoot down. Russia's Civil Aviation Authority briefly shut down Sochi's airport during the chaos. Flights were halted, airspace was cleared, and for a moment, even this southern coastal city felt like a war zone. Ukraine, as is typical in these shadow operations, offered no immediate comment. But Kyiv has made no secret of its intentions to take the war directly to the logistical and economic heart of Russia. Attacks like this one aren't just random strikes, they're surgical moves in a long campaign aimed at crippling Moscow's war machine. The question now is, if Ukrainian drones can set oil depots ablaze in Sochi, how far are we from seeing the war reach Moscow in a way Russia can no longer hide or stop? Overnight, the war took another dangerous turn. This time, near one of Russia's most iconic resort cities, a Ukrainian drone strike hit an oil depot just outside Sochi, igniting a massive fire that sent thick columns of black smoke billowing into the sky. The depot, not far from the shores of the Black Sea, burned furiously as emergency crews rushed to contain the inferno. According to Regional Governor Veniamin Kondratyev, more than 120 firefighters were dispatched to the scene. A massive fuel tank, holding over 2,000 cubic meters of oil, was engulfed in flames before the blaze was finally brought under control. The cause? Drone wreckage. Kondratyev confirmed that falling debris from a Ukrainian UAV struck one of the tanks, triggering the explosion and subsequent fire. Sochi, a city known for hosting the 2014 Winter Olympics and once a symbol of Russian prestige, suddenly found itself in the crosshairs of a modern battlefield. Located around 250 miles or 400 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, the city is now well within reach of Kyiv's expanding drone campaign. Social media quickly lit up with videos showing massive plumes of smoke rising into the air. The images left little doubt. This was no minor incident. This was a message. In response to the attack, Russia's Civil Aviation Authority briefly shut down air traffic at Sochi airport, an increasingly common move in recent months as drone threats escalate. Late last month, a Ukrainian drone strike hit the Adler district of Sochi, tragically killing a woman. Now, for context, Sochi isn't hit often. It's the same city that hosted the 2014 Winter Olympics, and it's usually been out of the spotlight when it comes to drone attacks. But clearly, that's changing. The Krasnodar region, where Sochi is located, is also home to the Ilsky oil refinery, one of the biggest in southern Russia, and that place has become a regular target for Ukrainian drones. Kyiv's clearly going after key fuel and logistics infrastructure, and Ilsky is high on that list. Meanwhile, things were also heating up in the Voronezh region, another part of southern Russia close to the Ukrainian border. On Sunday, the regional governor said 4 people were injured there in a drone strike that sparked several fires. Russia, on the other hand, didn't stay quiet. It launched a missile strike on Kyiv the same day, according to Ukrainian officials. So both sides were trading blows again: drones, missiles, fires, injuries. It's all part of this escalating pattern. Russia's defense ministry later claimed that its forces shot down 18 Ukrainian drones over the Voronezh region alone. But again, like always, they only report what they destroy, not how many actually made it through. And while this fiery strike dominated headlines, another story unfolded in parallel. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced new plans for a prisoner exchange, highlighting that even in the midst of destruction, diplomacy and human lives remain at stake. The timing of the drone strike is telling. It capped off one of the deadliest weeks in Ukraine in recent memory. This weekend saw another wave of violence in the war between Russia and Ukraine. And it's showing no signs of slowing down. Ukraine reported that 7 people were killed on Saturday during Russian attacks in the Kherson and Donetsk regions. These are places that have been hit hard throughout the war. And sadly, this is just the latest in a long list of deadly strikes. Meanwhile, Ukraine has been hitting back hard. One of the biggest headlines came from Sochi, where a Ukrainian drone targeted an oil refinery, causing major damage. But that wasn't the only place under fire. Russian officials say Ukraine launched drone attacks on several cities across the country, including Ryazan, Penza, and Voronezh, which is pretty close to the Ukrainian border. In Voronezh, one of those drones injured 4 people. Ukraine hasn't officially commented on these specific strikes, but their pattern is clear. They've been going after Russia's energy infrastructure, hitting oil depots, refineries, and fuel storage facilities. And that's no accident. These strikes are in direct response to Russia's continued attacks on Ukraine's own energy grid, which have left parts of the country without power time and time again. According to Russia's defense ministry, they shot down 93 Ukrainian drones overnight, 60 of them over the Black Sea alone. But, as always, Russia only tells us how many they claim to have intercepted, not how many actually got through. On the flip side, Ukraine's Air Force reported that Russia launched 83 drones, or maybe it was 76 drones and 7 missiles, overnight. They said they managed to shoot down 61 of them, but 16 drones and 6 missiles still made it through, hitting targets in 8 different regions. So both sides are launching waves of attacks. Both are claiming interceptions, but real people are still getting hurt, and real infrastructure is being destroyed. The city of Kherson is once again in the crosshairs. Over the weekend, Russian forces hit the Ostrivsky Bridge again. This bridge connects the Korabel Island district to the rest of the city, and it's already been damaged earlier in the week by airstrikes. After the latest attack on Sunday morning, the regional head, Oleksandr Prokhodin, called for a partial evacuation. About 1,800 people are still living in that area. But with the bridge barely holding up, things are getting dangerous fast. These new strikes come at the end of one of the deadliest weeks Ukraine has seen in a while. Just a few days ago, Russia launched a massive assault on Kyiv, firing more than 300 drones and 8 cruise missiles. That attack killed at least 31 people and is now being called one of the deadliest on the capital since the full-scale war began back in February 2022. Following the chaos, President Zelensky came out swinging. He called on the international community to hit Russia with even stronger sanctions. And interestingly, former US President Donald Trump also jumped in, publicly condemning Russia's actions and suggesting that new sanctions might be on the way. Now here's where things get even more intense. Back in July, Trump warned Putin he had 50 days to end the war, or face major tariffs, especially on oil and other Russian exports. Then, on Monday, he shortened that window, while holding meetings with European leaders and squeezing in some time on the golf course. Former US President Donald Trump made it clear he's done waiting on Putin. Speaking alongside UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Trump said he's officially shortening the deadline he previously gave Russia to make progress toward ending the war. Earlier this month, he gave Putin 50 days. But now, he didn't hold back, saying he's disappointed in Putin and that there's no point in dragging this out any longer. As of now, the Kremlin hasn't responded to Trump's statement. But this move raises big questions, especially with tensions already boiling on the battlefield and sanctions on the table. Things have been heating up again on both sides of the war, and sadly, civilians are once again paying the price. In southern Ukraine, the city of Mykolaiv took a hit after a Russian missile slammed into a residential neighborhood. At least 7 people were wounded, according to Ukraine's emergency services. Just nearby in Kherson, Russia once again bombed a key bridge, causing even more damage to a route that's already been hit multiple times. This bridge is a big deal for the region's mobility and supply routes, and every new strike makes things harder for people trying to survive there. But Ukraine struck back. In Russia's Voronezh region, officials reported that a Ukrainian drone strike injured 4 people. It's just another sign that Ukraine's long-range drone campaign is reaching deeper inside Russian territory. Meanwhile, tensions are rising between world leaders too. While former US President Donald Trump continues to push for a ceasefire, Russia isn't budging. And as if to prove that point, Moscow launched one of its deadliest attacks in months on Kyiv just days ago. A combined drone and missile strike hit Ukraine's capital hard, killing 31 people, including 5 children, and injuring over 150 others. It was one of the worst single-day casualty tolls Kyiv has seen in a long time. But there's finally a bit of hopeful news coming out of this war, and it's about something that really matters: prisoners coming home. On Sunday, President Zelensky announced that Ukraine and Russia have agreed to exchange 1,200 prisoners after their latest round of talks in Istanbul last month. He posted the news on X, formerly Twitter, saying both sides are still finalizing the lists of who will be exchanged, but the goal is simple: to finally bring civilians home who've been stuck in captivity for way too long. Zelensky also mentioned that plans for another round of talks are already in the works. Now, to be clear, these negotiations haven't brought an end to the fighting. Not yet. But every single round of talks this year has at least led to some kind of prisoner exchange. And that's a win for the families waiting for their loved ones to return. Russia hasn't officially commented on the deal yet, but the silence isn't stopping Ukraine from moving forward. Meanwhile, the war on the ground and in the air is still raging. That same night, Russia launched a massive attack with 76 drones and 7 missiles targeting cities across Ukraine. The Ukrainian Air Force shot down 60 drones and 1 missile, but 16 drones and 6 missiles still broke through, hitting 8 different locations. So yeah, progress on diplomacy is moving, but the bombs haven't stopped falling. All right, a twist in the Ukraine story that's grabbing attention: corruption. Over the weekend, a Ukrainian lawmaker and some other officials got arrested. Why? Because authorities uncovered what looks like a huge bribery scheme involving the purchase of drones and other weapons. President Zelensky jumped on X to say he's got zero tolerance for corruption, and this scandal reportedly caused prices to shoot up by as much as 1/3 on some state contracts. That means taxpayers and the military were paying way more than they should have. Now here's the backstory. Just last month, MPs passed a controversial bill backed by Zelensky's party that weakened the country's independent anti-corruption watchdogs, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau, NABU, and the Specialized Prosecutor's Office, SAPO. Instead, those watchdogs would have been put under the control of Zelensky's own general prosecutor. This move freaked out a lot of people. Activists in Kyiv hit the streets in protest, and even the EU allies raised alarms. People saw it as a step back in the fight against corruption. But here's the good news. Just this past Thursday, a new law basically scrapped those controversial changes. Kyiv's activists celebrated, calling it a win for the values that Ukrainian soldiers are risking their lives to defend on the front line. So this isn't just politics, it's about keeping the fight against corruption alive while the country fights a brutal war. The strike on Sochi's oil depot marks a significant escalation in Ukraine's counteroffensive, demonstrating the expanding reach of its military capabilities. While the immediate damage was contained, the broader implications are profound. This incident underscores the intensifying nature of the conflict, where both nations are increasingly targeting each other's critical infrastructure. As the war progresses, the question arises: how much longer can both sides sustain such high-stakes operations without risking further escalation? Stay tuned to know more in future.